Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to use OpenCore to boot practically all the laptop. I have the laptop HD 4000 all the way up to 8650. OpenCore is a new bootloader. For the new people who just need to install a Catalina, to me is this: if you can't put Catalina on your laptop or desktop or whatever, don't bother, because whatever you're doing is wrong. Because I can put Catalina even on the HD 4000, that's Ivy Bridge. In this folder here, I have all the config files to boot. The ACPI can be the same. I can put all the stuff inside here. I can put all the drivers inside here. And I can put all the CACs in CACs here. Only different in the config file is the device property for the graphic cards. That's all. And the platform ID to use the correct SM BIOS. But that's okay. I do recommend to use OpenCore if you're brand new with Hackintosh. I have Mac which I can go in and get my Catalina straight from Apple. But for people who doesn't have a Mac, I actually test by downloaded the Catalina 15.5 from Olarilla.com, which I heard about. And I made the USB boot. It's actually working. It's really vanilla. And inside here, they give you everything. It's really nice. But I'm not here to talk about Olarilla. I'm talking about the OpenCore. But you, if you don't have a Mac, you can Google Olarilla and download it. And to me is this: if you use something from them, it's good to donate. It's karma. Okay? So let's start to boot all of these laptops with OpenCore.
Okay, so this is Dell Latitude. This one is also Coffee Lake. It's i7 8650U. This one has Ethernet, USB-C. This is a business laptop. It's to disable secure boot and enable the legacy boot. So we need to go to secure boot, enable, uncheck it. Advanced boot option. We're going to enable legacy, and then we're going to apply. So we hit F12 on Dell. So we're going to boot from the HP 150. So now we're going to boot from Catalina 15.5 installer. Okay, so the problem with this laptop is that it doesn't have Synaptic. So the PS2 Voodoo doesn't work, so we have to USB mouse and also USB keyboard. So that's why I don't recommend this for Hackintosh. Okay, so if we plug in a mouse and you can use it, now we're going to boot into a Kexin here with the 15.5. So again, boot from the USB. Now we're going to boot from the Catalina SSD. Okay, pretty fast. Alright, so we're in. So this is Dell Latitude i7 8650U, which is Coffee Lake graphic HD 6. So with Dell, to go to setup, we have to use F2 to go to the BIOS. Okay, so this one is NV 13-inch, very thin, i7, very nice. It's the best MacBook Pro 14.2 you can get. So all the HP. To boot into the boot menu, you hit F9. So you boot into F9. So when it got stuck there, there must be something is not right. So we gotta fix that. Okay, so after we fix it, we can do it again. So if everything is correct, it should not be stopping at the Apple PS2 controller 45 and 47. So sometimes it's a very simple quirk that we didn't put it correctly. So I have too many config for this one. I have to choose the right one to do it. The brightness is up really high, which I like about the OpenCore. It always set the brightness of the backlight really high, maximum. And Clover did do it on this one. Okay, so now you can install macOS from this, because you can boot into it, which means you can actually install it, or maybe not. Anyhow, so this one right here, I already used this OpenCore to install 15.5 in here already. So I'm going to boot it into here, okay? The reason I don't want to boot into the internal hard drive of this one, because OpenCore, I still did not get the iMessage correctly because of their NVRAM thing. I'm going to plug it into there. So since I don't have OpenCore as a default, so I can boot from the files inside the folder of the EFI. See, one bad thing about the display of the OpenCore is that it doesn't shrink and fit everybody together, or if you move, it doesn't go to the next one. So whatever display here is what you get. So whatever's on the other side, you cannot do it. So the best is that if you're going to use a lot of them like this, don't use it's called the canopy. Don't use that. So now my external hard drive that I installed Catalina is SSD. So I'm going to boot from the SSD external hard drive. So both of my hard drives, they're all NVMe, so that's why it's fast. Okay. Now, this one is HD 620 i7 7500U. That is a 7 series, 7th generation from Intel. Okay, so this one is Elite Book, 12.5 inch, really light. One thing good about this one is for professional. So it has the Ethernet, USB-C, and 2 USB 3.0. And this one has a display port instead of HDMI for some reason. But it's actually a very good laptop for Hackintoshing. And you can buy these used right now for less than $200. Okay, this one is the i7. We have matte display, and in 6600U, which is the 6th generation, which is very good. So it always have this post error problem because HP made this one without the battery, CMOS battery. They have to use the Windows to set the real-time clock. But that's no problem, we don't need that. So this one is called HD 520, alright? And they call it Skylake. So all of the laptop with Skylake should be the same. You see, I use this now without the canopy, and you can boot straight in there. So this OpenCore right now is 0.5.9. So let's restart this one. It's working now. The mouse pad and everything works perfectly. So what I have to do is go to F9. I want to boot with my external USB here after I change the config of this Skylake into the config file, because I cannot choose, right? So let's do this. So we don't use that. We use Catalina external 155. Alright? So just like when you're going to install it. We're in the installation screen, so which means that we booted okay. So this one is Dell Inspiron. This one is Broadwell i7 5500U. This one has 3 ports USB, and that's it. There's no Ethernet or anything like that. F12 is to get into the menu, right? And for Dell, you make sure if you don't have the frame buffer setting, you have to patch the 32 meg, okay? If not, it's gonna have kernel panic. So this one's Broadwell i7 5500U, and I use this one as a MacBook Air 7.2. So Broadwell still have flickering, but it's beautiful. Okay, so this one is Touch Smart 17-inch i7 4700 MQ. This is the best one. It is a very fast computer. And this one have Haswell HD 4600. Actually, this one is my workhorse. It's the best. Alright, this one has USB port, 4 of them, and HDMI and Ethernet too. So this is the perfect Hackintosh you can find. So if you look for the JD120, I believe that's the model number. So let's turn it on. So I think OpenCore is mostly made for the desktop. So they still not have any experience with the laptop yet. Therefore the guide is not perfect.
And there's a lot of things that you don't really need, just like Clover. People package too much stuff.
Bootloader is actually just the interpreter, the link between the BIOS of your laptop to the operating system, nothing else. So if the link doesn't translate the correct hardware, it won't boot. BIOS doesn't know what to do. That's very easy. So you set everything correctly, BIOS and the operating system hardware inside the software match, it will boot. Okay, so this one right here is HP 15-inch. This one is X360. You can flip it all the way around. And this one has the i7 4510U Haswell HD 4400. So, by the way, if you boot from one USB to the other USB and it hangs, that means your USB setup is wrong. Okay, when you boot from here, when it start running, and then it didn't see the other USB. Okay, so we're in.
All the model of the same CPU generation should work the same way. And it doesn't what makes all model. It doesn't matter if it's Dell or HP, the architecture should be the same. So the new version now is 5.9. So there's 5.9 release. So if we unzip it, and inside here you have utility, docs, and this one has a sample full list. This is what we use to make our config. It's the same as Clover. The config is extremely important. So inside here we have the EFI folder, and you have the boot, and you have the OC here. Okay, so this OC folder is the same as a Clover folder if you install it in UEFI folder. So it's the same if you go into your EFI folder And in the ELI folder, you have the boot, Clover, and then you just add the OC. Okay, so inside the OC folder, you need to have a config file here. It's the same as if you do with Clover. The only thing different is that the way they structure differently. Let's open my ELI folder. So in the EFI folder, I have OpenCore and I have Clover. I have Microsoft and I have boot. So in the boot here, it depends on what you want to put. If I want to boot from OpenCore, I click this one when I select the file. So for OpenCore, so they have the ACPI. So the ACPI, they only use so many that is so good. All the SSDT and the SDT that you want. You have drivers, which is all the EFI drivers that you need, but actually only use very little from this one, and kex. So all the kex that you need to use for your devices inside your laptop, all right? The difference between OpenCore and Clover is that whatever the kex you want to use, you have to specify and turn it on. Unlike Clover, you just dump everything into the kex and Clover try to inject if they can. Let's look at the config file. So the ACPI, you have to add. So I add the DSDT after I patch it. But one good thing about OpenCore is that you don't really need to patch anything, and you disable the DSDT, it will boot for you anyway, so it's good. You need the PNLF, which is the one, the brightness, okay? The whatever green will turn on the brightness. You need the plug-in type. So this one, for the plug, you have a plug. The plug is actually plug-in type is the one, it's called the power management. So instead of using SSDT PR generation, so they have plug, they have many plug with the OpenCore. So you have to choose what you want. But some of the old type, I had the OSDT plug-in type 1 is already working. The important thing is this. You need to have the SSDT EC. So it's called embedded controller. You need this one. Because Catalina, before Catalina, you don't need it. But after Catalina, you need this one because the embedded controller has to be EC. Without this, it won't boot with Catalina. And also, you need the USB power distribution. So this one I made it myself, or you use the OpenCore SSDT USB-X and property. So the important thing with the property is this. If you don't tell the OpenCore or whatever green or lilo IG platform ID of your graphic card, it won't do it correctly. So you won't boot either. The kernel is also important, is that what you have to add the kex. But important thing is this, the first one had to be Lilu, The order seems to be important too. Now, if it's a laptop, you have Voodoo PS2 controller kegs. I found out that the Rehab Man is the best one, better than the OpenCore. The reason is this: when I use the OpenCore, when I select something, this one's moving like crazy. You can't really control it. It's flaky. But with Rehab Man, use a Rehab Man. It works perfect. So number 3 is virtual SMC. Number 4 is whatever green. Number 5 is the ALC for my sound. The ALC is really good. Number 5 is USB eject all. This is for USB from RehabMan. And number 7, this one has a Realtek LAN, Ethernet. Number 8, now you need to have the Voodoo input kegs. Voodoo input kegs is in the kegs folder. And this one is from OpenCore. All right. Then inside a PS2 controller, you will do, see this, Voodoo PS2 controller kegs. You extract the inside plug-in Voodoo keyboard. And number 10, the trackpad from the same RehabMan PS2 controller kegs. And the Voodoo mouse, you get it there too. When you do it correctly, you will have the trackpad. Without it, you won't have a trackpad. All right. Now, the SMC Battery Manager, SMC Processor CAC 17 and 18 Super I/O. I don't have any Super I/O in here, so I don't use that. NVMe Fix. So if you use NVMe, these days we use a lot of NVMe, so I use this one. All the ports on each of these sections, you have to set it correctly. If not, it's not going to boot. One thing about the Clover is that you cannot boot from the menu, the Windows. Want to do a boot, you have to go into, actually you have to go into the EFI folder, and you have to go to Microsoft, and you go to boot, click the boot manager to boot the Windows. All right. You need the HFS Plus. Open runtime is important. HFS Plus is important. Open Canopy if you want that graphical. NVMe Express DXE EFI, that's what I use. The quirk here is simple too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all a sample config file on my website. So go to my website. It's going to be below the info link, and you can get yours.